Nervous tissue is a soft and delicate material. Even slight pressure can injure or destroy neurons. So we see that the brain has several layers of materials that serve to protect and cushion it. Now, in chapter 7, we saw that the bones of the cranium surround and protect the brain, but these are not the only protective structures around the brain. The brain also has connective tissue membranes that surround it. These are collectively called the meninges. It also has a watery cushion in the form of cerebrospinal fluid, and it even has things like chemical barriers, which we would describe as the blood-brain barrier that serve to protect it. So here in this lecture segment, we're going to focus on the meninges. Now, the meninges are three connective tissue membranes that lie externally to the central nervous system. So not only are the meninges found surrounding the brain, but we also see meninges surrounding the spinal cord as well. Collectively, the meninges serve to cover and protect the central nervous system structures, but they also protect the blood vessels that are associated with those structures. They create a pocket which contains the cerebrospinal fluid that surrounds the brain and spinal cord, and they also help to form partitions within the skull. So from external to internal, the meninges consist of the dura mater, the arachnoid mater, and the pia mater. Now, the dura mater is a thick, tough, leathery cover that forms the superficial-most layers of the meninges. And actually, its name means tough mother. So I say layers because the dura mater has two layers. It has the periosteal layer of the dura mater, and it has the meningeal layer of the dura mater. Now, the periosteal layer of the dura mater attaches to the inner surfaces of the skull, and this is the most superficial of the two dura mater layers. And then we have the deeper meningeal layer, which is closer in proximity to the brain itself. So in general, these two layers are actually fused together. However, in certain areas, the two layers are separate, and they form small cavities called dural venous sinuses. Now, a specific dural venous sinus that is located near the superior midline of the skull is called the superior sagittal sinus. So the superior sagittal sinus and the other dural venous sinuses function to collect venous blood from the brain and return it to the internal jugular veins of the neck, and then the internal jugular veins will return that blood to the heart. So essentially these are little chambers in which venous blood can be collected and eventually returned to the heart. The middle meningeal layer is a layer that's called the arachnoid mater, which forms essentially kind of a loose covering over the brain. It is separated from the dura mater above it by a thin cavity that's called the subdural space, and the subdural space contains a film of watery fluid. And beneath the arachnoid mater is a much wider chamber that's called the subarachnoid space. Now, the subarachnoid space is filled with cerebrospinal fluid. The arachnoid mater also has these very thin, almost web-like extensions that secure the arachnoid mater to the pia mater on the surface of the brain. We also see that the subarachnoid space contains large blood vessels that serve the brain. And finally, last but not least, the thin, delicate pia mater, whose name means gentle mother, is composed of a very thin and delicate connective tissue, and it also contains many small blood vessels. So this is the only meningeal layer that clings very tightly to the surface of the brain, while the arachnoid mater did send these little web-like extensions down towards the brain. They only anchor to the surface of the pia mater. It's the pia mater itself that actually forms a thin film on the superficial surface of the brain tissue itself.